Good morning. Here we are in rural Rutland. Lots and lots of birds singing on this spring morning. And I'm about to embark on the first green oak timber frame I've ever done. Obviously lots of nods to other YouTubers, particularly the Restoration Couple and to Robin Clevett and the Fouch Family and many others, but this is my stab at it. It's going to be a barbecue shack. We bought a new barbecue, it needs protecting. You can buy a rain cover for it for 150 quid, or you can spend an awful lot more time and money doing this. Hope you enjoy it. Part 1, the timber arrives. Here is the heaviest load of timber I've ever had delivered. And magically, it gets moved to these sawhorses, not by dog, but by people, strong ones. So this is the green oak we took delivery of last week. Sawhorses, courtesy of another channel, thank you very much. And there's Pumpkin the dog. Here is the famous barbecue under its very impromptu tarpaulin wrap. And so we were building this about 5 meters wide, there to there, and about 2.5 meters deep. This is without planning permission or subject to permitted development, so we're going to be going up 2.5 meters in maximum height pitched there. These timbers arrived looking pretty good, actually. Looking pretty good. They're rough sawn. It's just a bit of a watermark from overnight. It's the first time I've actually been able to get out here in the proper sunshine. I've had to, so I had the choice of planing them or sanding them. I don't have a massive plane, massive broad plane. I do have an electric plane, but it's only about 2.5 inches wide, which I don't think is good enough for this job. And also, I reckon I can get the same effect, or as good an effect for what I need, just sanding out the striations. You can see the saw marks there, can't you? So that's the original as they were delivered, and this is how I managed to get it up on the first 60 grade belt sander. So I may be thinking about giving it another go with 120, but it's pretty good for an oak, green oak finish, and I think I'll probably leave it at that. And we'll see. I might put some Danish oil on it to give it a little bit of colour and protection. So this is the monster from outer space. Certainly found this helpful, not getting a whole load of that thin sawdust in my throat. It's everywhere on the terrace, everywhere, and with planing I think that would be okay. The larger chips I wouldn't be so worried about, but this sawdust I think gets everywhere. Anyway, here we go. So this is the finish after 3 passes with a 60 grit sander. I've left a little bit of striation on it. I don't really want to change the dimensions of the wood too much. I'm relying on it being 150 by 150, which these are. It's very smooth surface, so I think I'm probably happy with that. That's 25 minutes work, 2.3 metre timber. So having tried it with the sander, and it's taken me about 20 minutes per timber, 25 minutes per timber to sand, that's 3 or 4 passes with this old Titan planer here, sander here. I then just borrowed from a friend the village tool library, a Makita electric planer, and that has really truly whipped through. You can see the finish See, one pass at 1 millimetre. That's nearly done it, isn't it? I did it at 1.5 millimetres. Oh, hang on a minute. On that side. I thought I was maybe losing too much. Done it at 1 millimetre here. I haven't quite got through all of the saw marks. So maybe I'll do it 2 passes anyway. It's about 7.5 centimetres, 3 inches wide. The plane, nearly taken it, so I'm going to do 3 parts. It's 150 millimetre wide, this timber, and do it 1, 2, 3 passes. Let's have a look. Well, it has done a great job with the planer, but it's a 3 amp hour Makita battery, and it's been wiped out doing 1 timber. So that's what, 2.5 metres, let's say. 3 passes per side, 12 passes times 2.5 metres. So that's 30 linear metres. 3 amp hour battery. Let's see how long the next one lasts. Great job though. Do you remember that glorious sunshine of the morning? The other important thing about this, tarpaulins. So here I am. No longer the sun shining. It stopped raining though, which is great. I'm going to get my new planer out. Well, that depth is set at 0, and that's created quite a lot of shavings for something that's not actually supposed to be shaving anything off, isn't it? It's 2 passes over here, pretty much taking everything. Unfortunately, I dipped at the end there, so you can see as I dipped, it dipped a good 3 or 4 millimetres. Entirely avoidable fault that. I could have taken the weight of the plane and been ready to lift it up. However, I'll turn it into a half lap or 10 and something like that. It has produced a magnificent finish though. Really, really magnificent. Planing it like that. Very pleased with that. I'm just going to have to sort out the depth. We're going to test this out now. I've got a new timber here, completely unplaned. Let's measure it. So that is 148 millimetres. That is 152 millimetres. And 150 spot on. So I'm now going to take off 0 millimetres according to Bauer and see what it ends up being. So let's do some rudimentary measurement. Here we're now at, what's that, 148, it's registering. Here it says just over 150, 151 maybe. And here, oh, hang on, 151. None of that seems to make any sense, and I reckon I've probably taken off about 1 millimetre. So I've drawn a line here, diagonal line, 0mm to 5mm deep. It's 2 centimeters wide, 20mm wide. So I can see after I've planed it how much of that line is remaining, and therefore how much I've cut quite accurately. In the first pass, I cut absolutely nothing off this, which means fractions of a millimetre, which is good. I still haven't really understood how many fractions of a millimetre it is, but let's give it another pass, and the more times I do it, the more I can understand how much fraction of a millimetre comes off each time. And this is the second pass. Where are we? Back to my mark. Where am I now? I reckon I'm probably there from the original. So that is, hang on a minute. 1.9mm. So in 2 passes, I've done a 20th of that distance. So I've done a 20th of the 20th of the 5mm depth. So 1/20th of that is 0.4mm, so each time 0.2mm. So my setup isn't right, but I've been able to work with it just quickly while the sun's still shining, and it's been about 0.2mm, I would say possibly a shade less, 0.15mm setup. I'm pleased with that. So it's really been just enough to take the striations off the wood in 2 passes, as you'll have seen. And there are loads of people on YouTube who are far more skilled at this, hand planing, etc., than me, and I'm just bewildered by it. I've never been able to do it in woodwork or with my father or anything, but I do understand the physics of it. But I think once you've gone wrong, you've gone wrong. And it's very difficult to get it right again. So that's why I've just been relying on the shape of the wood. I will take a square to it in order to understand what my reference plates are, narrows, corners and all that sort of stuff, and I'll mark that up in the next video. So these timbers here are the long ones which go at the front and back of the top frame, and you can see one of them's straight and the other one's a banana. Well, we'll use a method that we've seen on the Fouch Family Robinson, or whatever it's called, where we'll think of the inner straight timber, which is lurking within for when we come to fit the various joinery. But this one's pretty much true, almost a delight. This one goes like a banana at the end, and unfortunately it does it and the other plane too. The deviation on these is enormous, 50mm off centre at various points and on the way down a 5-metre beam. I'm going to have to find a way of dealing with that, but I'll lose it towards the back of the barbecue shelter, and we will just have to find that inner beam somewhere. Now this is the site for where the barbecue shack's going up. It's drops about 1 foot in every 3 meters. I know I'm mixing my metrics and imperial there, because that's a creature of the late 60s. And there was a flower bed there, a large tree stump which I'm still having to accommodate, but we've dug out a hole, and we're going to put in there a concrete pad. Just going to form some shuttering for it now, and decided to get some metal ties made up by the local welding company, put on all of the corners. This is a lovely workshop, isn't it? So my concrete pad, just laid the first preliminary part of that, I'm going to top it off with an extra inch of concrete and level it out at the right level for the pad for the foundation. It's coming on. Although even though it's postcrete, there was so much of it, it's taking a while to set. I've made it quite a wet mix. So there's my very rudimentary form and block concrete base for this corner. Took off the form from my concrete plinth this morning. I had to raise it a little. I had to do it in 2 steps and raise it in order to get it level. So there was a little bit of a step there. That's going to be hidden by other stuff anyway, so I'm not concerned about that. It's good and true and strong and flat and level. Time for some tools. This is a 1.5 inch framing chisel which I bought and started doing quite a lot of research about the joint itself that I needed. Now that the sun's shining, I can actually have some tools out, and nobody could accuse me of being anal, could they? Look at those mitre squares and roofing squares all in the same place. Oh, I've got another one to add to it actually. Okay, so spot the difference. Had a really complicated joint to work out. It's a combination of a cross lap, half lap, sorry, and a mortise and tenon, and so because it's taken me a while to work out what to do, I'm doing 6 of them, and I'm doing them all side by side. This is my pattern, and I'm reminding myself of the measurements of this. I know it's not the most efficient way of working, but I'm hoping that means I don't get it wrong. Anyway, so you see I'm making them side by side. 5 of them there, one of them is already done. Be nice to go and have a glass of wine later, or 5.
Are we allowed to have an ice cream?
So the other point to make is that I'm making every measurement off this reference face, because these 2, for example, this one is 154 millimeters and this one is 152 millimeters, so they're not identical, and then you have to measure off the reference face, and this arris here, so these are the 2 reference faces. So this is the world of the EU banana, and you can see the long timber, second one back, absolutely dead, plumb straight, all of the virtues of a nice timber to frame with. And the one in front of it, just here, it's like a banana or cambered road surface, and I'm having trouble understanding quite how to set this out. I certainly want to, I think I might better, fortunately that is the straightest, and I'd like that to be along the marking the width of the frame, and I'm going to deal with this by that being the but having it this side so that I can cope with that bow there, like as if I was setting out treated timber and crowning it. I don't think we're going to get an awful lot of drop in that, but maybe we will. So crowning it, and I'm also going to be notching into the back of those where I put the roof joists. And that won't be seen because it'll be at the back of the building, so that's my thinking about it. Who knows whether that's right? It just seems there's an element of logic to it. Unfortunately, this corner here is the straightest, plumbest corner, so this is where I've marked my arris. So all measurements depend from there. I don't know whether that's right either. My vertical measurements are going to be a bit suspect, but from this face here backwards, that's absolutely plumb. So I think those marks will be good. I've had a bit of a tidy up, and I've laid out the top frame now. We have, I have cut these half laps at the corners, which I'm pleased with now. It's square, all measures the same on the diagonals, the timbers are the same length, etc, etc. And these are my specially created tenons, because I'm perhaps not as precise as other people, though I do try. I am marking up each one, and I'll take measurements from each one to each corner as well. Well, I started doing some more research around friends' houses, taking a look at their oak structures, then what was available on the internet to buy for knee braces. Horrendously expensive, but there's a lot of work goes into them. And I found the working dimensions, which I thought were interesting to note. Saw how they were constructed, whether they were inset or on the face of it, and started work. Moving on to the next step. I've got the timber here. This is 4x4 timber, green oak again. Probably should have been dried oak, but you can get what you can get at the moment. And also didn't know what to get at the time, so I placed the order. This is 4x4, and I have been looking on the internet about how to size it up, etc. It's been very helpful. I've got the guys coming on Monday with the chain mortises, so there's a bit of pressure of time for me to get this sorted. Just this morning, Saturday morning. It's beautiful outside. Want to get out. Goes to a nice rectangular edge here, so I'll just mark that out. That's what I'm measuring from always. So I've got approximately, well, I start 150 millimeters from the edge, and then all my other measurements go from there. So got 300 millimeters is the inside of the brace. And got my trusty skin square, which everybody seems to go for and recommend. Just remember to turn it around as you go along. I'm always trying to put a line in the wrong direction. So that's marked out my angles there. And then I know from my pattern here that I need to measure 130 millimeters up there from this point, measuring those points down. This is sand anyway to get rid of those marks. And that's the little ledge there. This is the tenon, and I just need to take it off. See, there we go, that's the way. And that's my tenon there. I'll take it around to the trusty owner of the village tool library and get it on his bandsaw and get those cut up ready for Monday. To say I'm pleased with that finish is an understatement. This is a rough version of my finished knee brace, like a two-headed turtle. Very pleased with the uniformity of those. Now chopped out one half, leaving a 50mm tenon there. And just for squareness, let's have a look, check that out. I am really pleased with that for such an amateur joiner as myself. These all been taken off down to the village tool library's bandsaw, which was a dream to use, absolutely the right material. So what I need to do is work out how to rebate this, and I'll get my joiner in tomorrow. No. Okay, so here we are. This is a chain mortise experiment. See how wide the blade will cut. We think about 52mm. We'll see what it looks like when it comes out. So another day, this time on mortises exclusively. Quite hard work, even with the chain mortiser. This is my rough cut. My friend Ollie, who's keeping out of the picture in case any previous girlfriends see him.
What you were doing then?
Has been helping me.
I hadn't registered.
And we've got these in pretty nicely, I would say. Rebated, resting there. Had a little bit of a split at the end of there, so we're probably not going to peg it. Put any more stress on the end of that piece of wood. Thinking that the half lap and tenon etc. will probably take most of it, and we think we're going to wedge the tenons traditionally at the far end anyway, so we'll see how that goes. Well, it's the end of a long day, and I know it doesn't feel like we've achieved a great deal, but we have. Those are the two frames. I need some mortises put on them still, but perhaps that'll be tomorrow. It's Tuesday today, measured in progress. We've got the back frame up, the rear frame up. Needs a bit of adjustment height wise. Just need to adjust where the plates are on this side. Make that tall and level. Very pleased that I got the Roman numerals in. And I've got all of the rest of the mortises either fully done or marked out ready for me to route and Ollie to come back on, fired and finish with the chain mortiser, which is this beast of a machine, but crikey, does it kick up some dust. So it's a big day today. We won't be giving the second half of the frame up, and we've decided to do a bit more of a dry fit today. We were in a bit of a rush the other day, so there's a bit of a clash of tenons going on inside here. There's Mortises, so I've had to shorten that one. There. See that shorten? It's a jolly good fit now. Focus on that. Well, happy with that. And we'll level that up. Proper dry fit now. We've 3-4-5'd the centre here, so we know that that's absolutely perpendicular. Measured off from there to each side. Measured off from there to each side, that distance, so we know it's all square. And moments later, and only a small amount of squaring, here we are, front frame up, and we put the top half of the half laps on as well to lock out the frame. Finally, a picture of Ollie. So this is my inner beam. I marked a string line along the back here on the level from right at the top of that plate all along here. I marked out where I've got to take out my intersections. So this is one, this level plane here. Give it a bit of a tidy up, doesn't need much though. And obviously my 5/12 angle here, which is about 25 degrees, and then I'm just fitting it, so it will go up onto that marked, where am I, that mark point there. Back to the bendy beam. So this is the level of the bottom of the bird's mouth, the seat cut. So I put it around a string line all along here to get the level from the corner to the corner. So I need to have that as the bottom of the seat cut. Now, the seat cut is approximately 6 centimetres long. So here I am trying to find the inner beam, which I keep on reading about. So 6 centimetres long. I'll mark that out. Then it's 1 centimetre deep at that point. So if it's 10 mils deep, there or thereabouts, centimetres, millimetres, inches, yards, whatever. So by this point, at the end of this, the end of those 6 centimetres, it's still 1 centimetre lower than the level of the beam here. So I need to get it up, but I need to get it at the right angle. This is a 5/12 pitch. So if it's 1 centimetre deep, then it goes up. For every 1 centimetre it goes up, goes across approximately 2 centimetres. So I'm going to mark out 6 centimetres here and then another 2 centimetres. I'll show you the markup in a minute. Apologies for the shadow. So this area here will be fully cut out, chopped out for 1 centimetre deep, and this will be graded from the top here on a 5/12 basis, slope to there. and then that should find the actual level of the beam, assuming that it is straight in this direction, which it isn't really. So it's a little bit approximate, but it's the best I can do. So the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Let's see, I've put some rafter ties in at the bottom to be sure, like the famous Irish joke. And I've put some cross supports in for the ridge beam, those laterally. Let's go up one step. Let's see how these all tie in. Pretty pleased with that. Now, this is the more difficult side, how all the different seats were. Do you know what? Considering how tricky that was for an amateur like me, I couldn't be happier, really. There's one that's maybe out by a centimetre there, that maybe cause a small issue. Maybe that's I think for me to look at in the morning. And you can see now the sort of truss style supports. I don't know what their name is, maybe I'll look that up, for the ridge beam to make it really structurally strong. And I'll leave this recording. I don't know quite where, let's have a look, as I give it a bit of a shake, and you can see